Hi, my name is Barbie Enrico, and I'm here to welcome you to Pitch Tips Zoomcast, and where venture capitalist Fred Haney gives feedback to CEOs of startup companies to help them raise capital. Fred is an experienced venture capital fund manager, angel investor, entrepreneur, founder Monday Club, and author of The Fundable Startup, one of the best-selling books about startup companies getting funded. So let's find out what Fred has to say to today's CEO.
Hi, and welcome to the Pitch Tips Zoomcast. I'm Fred Haney, your host, and I'm here because I've been involved directly with building hundreds of startups, and I've had dozens of good exits from those. The idea here is this Zoomcast lets you be a fly on the wall watching a conversation between a venture capitalist, that would be me, and an entrepreneur. Today, that would be Brian Fife, the CEO of Easy Alfred. And the idea is you're a fly on the wall and you can watch the dynamic here while Brian tries to pry some money out of my pocket. I'll ask him some questions and try and focus on some of the critical issues. And we're not trying to do an investment here. What we are trying to do is help you and Brian find ways to improve your pitch deck and improve your chances of getting funding. That's what we're about. The goal is to help everybody improve their chances of getting funded. So let's have Brian give us a quick little introduction. Brian Fife, you're the CEO of Easy Alfred. Tell us a little about your background and a little elevator speech about the company.
Yes, thank you, Fred. So yes, my name, as Fred said, is Brian Fife. I am the CEO and founder of Easy Alfred, powered by Local Links. And my background is, it's kind of a little bit of a classic California story. I graduated, I grew up, was born and raised in northeastern Indiana, Fort Wayne specifically. Went to Ball State University there in Muncie, Indiana, met some of the closest friends and colleagues of my life, and then hightailed my way as soon as I graduated to Southern California, like a lot of people do. I came out to California, worked originally in the entertainment industry, but always have been an entrepreneur by heart. In fact, as a kid, I used to play business. I set up my own briefcase with papers in it, and always had a dream of running and employing people as a business owner. Easy Alfred has been the culmination of, prior to this, 8 years of being a marketing agency for local businesses. And I would say Easy Alfred, powered by Local Links, is a B2B2C business development service, connecting local business to their ideal customer without the extra cost of paying for unqualified leads.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, your short version of the elevator speech.
Sure.
What's the problem that you're solving, Brian? What's the problem that you're solving and who are you solving it for?
So I'm solving this for local businesses. As I said, I've spent the past 8 years and really the past 38 years of my life as an avid lover of local business. As a kid, I loved the TV show Cheers. And I remember telling my dad someday I want to be just like Norm and be a regular at a bar like Cheers. My dad said, "Lofty goals, son, lofty goals." But the mindset was that I've always loved local businesses. I've always loved to be a local at a whether it be a restaurant, a bar, or, at the local post office. I just really want to be involved in the local community, and specifically uplifting, I guess what you'd consider mom and pop or locally owned businesses. And over the last 8 years, I have seen them struggle with the emergence of technology. Essentially, if you look at and speak to almost any local business owner, they will tell you that some of the struggles that they have faced have been from the demands that technology has placed upon them to now become an SEO, social media magnet, website, graphic designer, videographer, photographer. I mean, you name it. This has been placed upon and not really given any options to local business owners who once their goal was previously just to be the best at what they did, and they would find their customers through more direct means like phone calls and walk up traffic. And now with our phones here, we are not necessarily finding our local businesses in the traditional way. So I truly feel one of the main things that we're solving is a better, more direct way to connect local businesses to their ideal customer. I've spent, not just working as a marketing manager, but previously, before that, I was in business development with a Fortune 500 company by the name of NeoGov, and I helped build their business development from what was, when I started there, myself and two other people, to when I exited there, I was managing a team of 20 to 30 business development experts who were booking hundreds of demos a day, and I felt like that needed to be translated to the local businesses, and I believe I found it in Easy Alfred and powered by local links.
It is part of that problem that the local businesses are having, driven by having to compete with Amazon.
Compete with Amazon, eBay, competing really with their own, worst enemy, technology, in some ways, because oftentimes the best businesses don't have the best digital presence. And so whether they're the best or most exceptional at what they do, it's not always represented on their digital presence. So it creates a weird form of competition that doesn't really apply.
Amazon certainly has changed things. I do think that in your description of what you're doing, it's really important to give a clear description of the problem you're solving and who you're solving it for. Sure. It's you say, well, I like local businesses. That's too generic. Sure. What you ought to say is local businesses are going out of business because everybody's buying on Amazon. There's all this technology, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to take advantage of Twitter, Facebook, whatever online vehicles are available. They hire consultants, and the consultants overcharge them and don't get the job done. So I can see sort of a tidy description of a tough problem there for a local business. So I think you could do, just for starters, I think you could do a better job of really zeroing in on that. Let me give a little bit of background about how I think about these things, and then we'll go in a little more detail about Easy Alfred. When you're in the venture capital business, it would be real easy to get excited about every company you see. I learned this the hard way when I started to manage 3 Hive Ventures, which was the largest venture capital company in Southern California in the 1980s. And at first, I was just thrilled with all the wonderful ideas I was seeing, and I got excited about projects. I'd spend a lot of time and do a lot of due diligence. And then I figured out that that was kind of a trap. The real challenge, if you're going to be in the venture capital business, you got 100 business plans on your desk, you got people trying to get on your calendar, people trying to call you on the phone, board meetings to go to. You have a terrible time management problem. So one of the things you'll learn kind of early on is, if you're going to say no fast. I mean, that's really your time management challenge in the venture capital business. If I'm going to turn this down, why am I going to turn it down? Let's figure it out right away. Let's not mess around for weeks and weeks. Yeah. So the mentality is, for an investor, the mentality is, if this company were to fail, why would it fail? What are the reasons this might not work? Yeah. And now I'm going to make a list. As we go through all the pitch decks and everything, I'm going to make a list of the things I'm concerned about, the risks I see, the possibilities for failure, and then I'm going to go back through and try and work through those. Can I get comfortable with this? Are there some workarounds? Maybe I'm not understanding it, but what I'm going to try and do is get comfortable with every issue on my list, that I can either live with it or fix it, before I say yes. So it's sort of a negative mentality, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, you could spend a lot of time being really excited about things and then miss the kind of obvious nature of, well, this could fail this way.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to look for the potholes. So with that, Brian, why don't we have you do your screen share and walk us through a short version of the pitch deck for Easy Alfred.
Sounds good. 1 second, let me share my screen. So let me know if you can see my screen there, Fred.
Yep, got it.
All right. Just a second. Just want to make you a little bigger so that I can see if you have. All righty. Okay. So here we go. So as a kid, I wanted to live where people vacationed. In 2006, I moved to Hermosa Beach, a true vacation destination. I worked in its local restaurant, spent nights in its bars, and married one of its finest restaurateurs. When you add in 8 years as a local marketing consultant, it's safe to say I'm obsessed with local business. And do you know what makes every vacation community amazing? Well, it's locally owned and operated businesses. But these businesses are facing unprecedented hardships with the pandemic, corporate greed, and a biased internet. This is really a matter of they cannot take full advantage of the internet. And thus, as we resume and return to a hopeful normalcy, the 200,000 US small businesses that have been lost during the COVID are going to lose out on the increase in expected travel spend of anywhere between 9 to 21%. And thus, they are going to lose out on connecting with people staying at over 9 million properties on Airbnb and VRBO alone, and all of the various hotels, including the 2-star and 3-star hotels that don't necessarily have the concierge that they would get if they were with Easy Alfred. And that's what we are. Easy Alfred, powered by Local Links, is a B2B2C business development service connecting local businesses to their ideal customer without the extra cost of paying for unqualified leads. We're essentially the business development team that local businesses need. We're connecting local services as a matchmaker and personal assistant, pairing customers' needs with top-tier local services based on budget, timeline, goals, and expert evaluation. We're growing an egalitarian community of local businesses and consumers through a recommendation-based, revenue-sharing, concierge-connected community. So let's talk about our customer journey here. In the case of Nana, who's been locked in her house through the pandemic and is just itching to be with her adult children and grandchildren, she's gone ahead and found herself a vacation rental in a nice area. And so Nana gets online and begins to search for things to do for her children and her grandchildren. And she goes to Main Street and looks at all the businesses there, going through Yelp and TripAdvisor and White Pages and Yellow Pages. And oh my gosh, Nana is exhausted. But Nana wouldn't need to be if she had found an Easy Alfred house where she would just be able to pick the service she's looking for, the budget she has, the timeline she has, and everything from food services to adventure, fun, spa, luxury, wellness, whatever it is, she would find that through Easy Alfred, where all she'd need to do is pick those services, and then our agents, who are available on phone, email, text, and our app, would help her to pare down the 2 best options. So all she's doing is picking from option A or option B. And we do that by actually working directly with our local reps and the local businesses to identify what Nana's needs are and how a business can solve that, or essentially solve it at her budget. And then ultimately, it's about eliminating her need to schedule these on her own and allowing our Alfred to take the research off her plate and allow her to relax on her vacation and enjoy her time with her family. And we do that by really just keying in on the services that she's looking for so that all she can do is rest and relax, much like the woman there in the upper right-hand corner. And it's really all about partnering with these houses. So Nana may have found her house through Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Home Away, one of those many services, but we actually partner directly with our marketing partners who are the houses who directly connect to the ideal guest or the customer that we're looking to be. Essentially, we're working with them to connect the guest to the services. And that marketing partner, whether it's the house or one of our businesses, are looking at ways to better connect with their ideal customer. And so that's what we actually do, because most businesses are dealing with things like advertising, SEO, social media management. They're on Main Street, they're on Google TripAdvisor, and oh my gosh, just like Nana, most business owners are just frustrated by that. But they don't have to be, because with local links, the community within Easy Alfred, they're actually able to get on our app, have revenue sharing options. They only pay when they earn business, and they can actually join the referral network to be able to connect us and thus add revenue to their bottom line by connecting to their colleagues in their local industry, essentially making the business community a part of actually connecting to the ideal customer. Ultimately, our go-to-market is about connecting with these marketing partners, building an egalitarian model where every power partner earns revenue, curating high quality local businesses, and providing them education and networking options, as well as connections to other networking communities to help better build a local business community. We do this through transaction fees, so that it's really only about the spend. It's only about the money spent and not spending money on unqualified leads, whether it's in-home service, reservation, or connecting those retail businesses to the business services they need through our local links business connections. Our goal is about creating an experience for the local business, which thus creates an experience for their end consumer. And obviously, too, in the long run, we're creating an amazing data opportunity to sell data. And I believe there's an egalitarian way to make that better for everyone to gain revenue or gain added mailbox money. And so ultimately, there's a lot of businesses out there much like us, but none of them are creating the community that we are with the businesses and the consumers, and really just eliminating the idea that the consumer and the businesses should play an active part. They're just acting like the business is a product on the dusty shelf, whereas we actually build the community around those businesses and our consumers that are playing a part of it. Now, at the end, we're looking at right now a 6-month growth, seeking 150K of convertible note. We right now have a cost of acquisition of about $550, but double that of our customer lifetime value just during that 6-month period. We're seeking 100 new properties and feel that we can actually gain about 122,000 in revenue just in that 6 months from the current 100 properties that we've already signed. Our team is made up of a series of great experts in everything from business, marketing, and local services. And we also have a DevOps team out of the UK that has over 30 years of experience with major companies like Microsoft, Sky, and Vodafone. So thank you very much. And back to you, Fred.
Okay, good. Why don't you take off the screen share there? And
Second. All righty.
Good. That's crisp. I think one thing, I think it's both a blessing and a curse in your presentation, Brian, is you have a tendency to be a little chatty. I really like local businesses, and I grew up that way. I mean, that's charming and it's a positive in a way, but you also have to make sure it doesn't take up too much time because time is precious. So yeah, you got to kind of stay focused on the message. I find one thing that's important to understand about how people react to a pitch deck is they're getting it kind of one bullet at a time, one sentence at a time, and each bullet only makes as much sense as what's come before. Mm-hmm. So it's important that there be a flow and a context. And one thing I found myself, well, let me back up. You didn't make this mistake, but a lot of companies, I find I'm into slide 6 or 7 or 8, and I'm still not quite sure what the company does. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have that problem with you, good. But I have a little different issue. I get to slide 6 or 7 or 8, and I'm thinking, well, wait, I thought I understood what the market was and who has the problem that we're solving. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of changed on me, and then it changed again. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better for you to start out with a slide that says, look, we're solving a problem for 3 constituencies.
Thought about that, Fred.
We got local businesses who are getting hammered by Amazon. They don't know how to use the internet. People don't know how to find them. We got a lot of people doing Airbnb these days. Every neighborhood, there's 100 houses that are on Airbnb, and people are doing these short-term rentals. And people come into those houses and those neighborhoods. They don't have a clue where the butcher is, or where to go buy booze, or who's going to take them fishing, or all the things they want to do. So you got the businesses have a problem. The Airbnb people have a problem just helping people find their way around the community. And Nana coming into the community has a problem because she doesn't know her way around, doesn't have a clue, doesn't know the local businesses, needs a tool for connecting. So you're really solving, it's a complicated thing. I think it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But if I was going to draw a chart, it'd probably be 3 bubbles or something like that. You're solving a 3-way problem here, and you ought to get that right up front. So otherwise, I think, okay, we're solving a problem for small businesses. And then, oh no, we're solving a problem for Airbnb guys. Oh no, we're solving a problem for Nana who's on vacation at her Airbnb. You need to really boil that down, I think, into a slide.
So can I ask you a quick question about that?
Sure.
So I have had this, I've used it in other places, but I haven't necessarily brought it into my pitch. And I thought about it, is that I have thought about kind of a triangle, and there is at the top, there's the consumer, and then at the far right corner is the business service, and essentially going from the business service to the retail business to the consumer, and then having like a little dotted line, and in between all that is the Easy Alfred local links connecting the triangle of this. Businesses need the business service to connect the retail to the consumer, right? Because they have that, and it's like I can't figure out exactly how to animate that.
That sounds a little complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think the important thing that you got to get up early on is we're solving a 3-way problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know if you think where does the problem start?
Yeah.
I mean, if you kind of make it sound like at the beginning like you're solving the generic problem that small businesses aren't good at using the internet, but that's not really the problem you're solving.
Yeah.
The problem you're really solving is a conjunction. I mean, it comes about because you got a lot of people who are renting their house out on Airbnb. They're using the internet to drag people into that. People come in, they don't know the local businesses and the local community. The local community doesn't do a good job of using the internet to hook them up. So I would just make a simple, like a 1-sentence statement of the problem that each of those constituencies has. Now that's as a slide. Now, you may have another slide that tries to diagram how information flows or something like that. I mean, it also plays into how do you market? I mean, you're having to market yourself to the Airbnb people, you're having to market yourself to the local business community, and you're having to market yourself, I guess, to the Airbnb client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you need to pull all that together somehow. Otherwise, it's kind of strung out, and those different things become kind of unrelated. And I feel like I go from one to the next. And I think you really need to smash that all together somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a struggle. The first slide deck I wrote was and I think I'll preface this. I'm a writer. My degree was creative writing, and the first slide deck I wrote was 36 slides, I think, and every slide had probably a half a page worth of writing on it. And my first person who sat down with me goes, "Oh my gosh." They're like big, just cutting things. So I know that I agree with you. It's a big problem, but I think that you make a good point of like, if I could center that on those three aspects, that trifecta of that problem.
It's really important to remember that people absorb this kind of one bullet at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a bullet that says, we're solving a problem for small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And now a couple slides later, I get a bullet that says, we're solving a problem for Airbnb folks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're solving a problem for Nana.
Mm-hmm.
Is that her name? I forget her name.
Yeah, that's Nana.
and I get confused.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be confusing. I mean, it's actually a pretty powerful message. I mean, if you identify those three problem areas and show how you can come together and solve all three of those problems. If you've got a magic pill that's going to make all those people well, that's a much more compelling message, I think. I mean, it's great that you're a writer and you do communicate effectively. It's just really important to recognize that you've got really limited time to send these messages. I mean, sometimes you got a minute in an elevator, sometimes you got 3 minutes in a competition. If you're lucky enough to get a meeting with a venture capitalist, you probably get 45 minutes or an hour, depending on their interest level. And you've got to make sure that you send all of the right messages, leave time for questions. You know, you don't want to use up all the time, which is a big issue. I mean, you should probably try and use half the time or something like that and make sure there's plenty of time for questions. You can always come back and expand on things if there are no questions, but usually people have a lot of questions. So I think we've kind of made that point. Another thing I wanted to talk about is you mentioned local links.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not something I know about, and I think that probably needs a little more explanation. You know, how does that fit in here? Is that a company? Is it a thing? I mean, what do you mean when you talk about local links?
Mm-hmm. So good question. So when we started this business, I had always had intention of having a business side of it. I just noticed that in this 3-minute pitch that I forgot to use a key phrase that I very much wish I had in this, but essentially I refer to us much like a mullet. If you're familiar with the hairstyle from the 80s, where it was party in the back and business in the front. I consider us kind of a business mullet in the sense that the party style is the connection to the vacation rental community, to the vacationers who are using the retail services. But I've always wanted to have this be a business first platform, and the business community needs a place to be able to find. And as I think, you know, we can attest as anyone working in the digital space, SEO is a key aspect of identifying who searches for you. And so we've created local links as the business community that is essentially servicing the vacation rental communities or boutique hotel community with Easy Alfred. And essentially, I've taken a model similar to one of my past experiences with NeoGov. Is that NeoGov had their software for the HR world, public sector HR world, and then they had governmentjobs.com, which was a job board, which was how they essentially had built the initial parts of their community. And so we've we've essentially, much like NeoGov had powered by NeoGov, they have government jobs powered by NeoGov as the software. We consider Local Links really the business software that's powering the connections of the human concierge that is the Easy Alfred brand.
So is Local Links a company?
It's the same brand, it's all under the same banner. It's just almost like a sister brand, specifically in that sense of like Easy Alfred is the concierge and Local Links is the business community.
So, but there's some software.
Well, so we're developing right now. I have a team of a tech team that's helping to develop what we're calling an opportunity optimization software, working with a CRM and essentially helping to optimize the process of connecting the Alfred and the guest to the right service that the guest is looking for. I want to essentially make it so that we can. I have a theory that my dad actually brought to me, that the world lives on a pendulum and that we've gone these far extremes one way or the other, right? And that before this, everything was human led, and then we all of a sudden developed technology and pushed everything human out of the equation and just had these tech-led services that were without human components. And I think that it's somewhere in between that we can find the happy medium that would allow businesses and consumers to connect with technology, elevating the process of identifying the right service, but the human there to really pinpoint and key in on what it is the service, what's the service level need of the guest.
So who owns that Local Links software?
We do. Local Links is in the process of building everything. Everything is under Easy Alfred Inc.
So see, there's another kind of point of confusion.
Sure.
I think it almost sounds like it's somebody else that you're cooperating with. I think the message is we also have developed software that we call Local Links, and here's the problem that solves. I mean, you've got lots of constituencies and lots of problems being solved here. I mean, it's kind of a rich puzzle, which is fine. But you have to be really clear about it. Otherwise, it's just too complicated. People aren't going to get their minds around it.
Yeah.
So, the way you were talking about it, it was making me think, oh, well, Local Links is some other company I don't know about. It's out there in the neighborhood and they're helping link people together. Hey, it's us. We own that stuff. We developed that software. It's part of Easy Alfred.
Okay.
It's Easy Alfred Links.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's got to be clear that it's part of your product.
Yeah.
So I mean, sort of another point there is you need another slide probably that says here's exactly what our product looks like. Here's what we offer. Mm-hmm. Here's what it looks like for Nana. Here's what it looks like for the Airbnb guy. Here's what it looks like for the local businesses. Here's where Local Links fits. I mean, maybe that's a little schematic that says, here are all our puzzle pieces and exactly how they relate.
So almost like I do Nana's journey and then I do the partner journey. And if I had like a third slide that then shows their interconnectivity, and I can, say that Local Links is our brand that manages the community that is the concierge of Alfred, and just keeping those all connected.
Why call it a brand? Why not call it software?
That's a good point.
Okay, that's what it is.
That's true.
I'm just trying to be, very direct, and you got to use language that really resonates.
That's a very good point. Okay.
So, and I think you're right. You've got several constituencies there, but I think you got to not let it get fragmented. Mm-hmm. You got to keep it coherent somehow, so that it's very clear. I mean, that's also a very critical positive part of your marketing, because you have very well-defined constituency there. I mean, when you sit down and start talking about served available market, there's not a lot of mystery about how you want to define that.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I thought you could spend a little more time on may be the business model here. How does this company make money? If I put money in, how am I going to get money back? Um, who's paying for what, and what kind of revenue projections are you looking at?
Yeah, I have a couple more slides, obviously, that are available in a little bit longer than 3 minutes. So I would say, but I think even, I mean, obviously, Fred, you've seen my longer pitch. That's something I'm still working on, and I'd ask you this question: when in your past history, when you're dealing with a service, how do you how do you take what is obviously projections, right, and and interpret those? Like, would you have like kind of some key direction that you do to take specifically when it's a service related type of company versus, say, a product related company? Because product is always so simple in the sense that I have a product that costs X and we just need to sell as, you know, Y amount of them to reach profit margin, where
I don't see a big distinction. I mean, in either case, you're counting customers.
well, but the reason I ask is in the sense that our products, if we're going to put it in that context, the services that we're selling have a various range of pricing, you know, from, you know, $50 to, you know, $1,000. And so it's not, you know, we don't necessarily have, you know, a line item one is this price, and, you know, because we have right now about 100 different services that we're factoring, and even those can vary in their price based on the size of the group.
You know, I hear you, and it's not an easy problem, but the best answer to how do I forecast is make the best assumptions you can, do as much research as you can, build some models. You know, you can make some assumptions, do some spreadsheets, and if you want to do a high, medium, low, or something like that, that's fine. You say if it turns out that the mix is like this, here's what it looks like. If the mix is like that, here's what it looks like. But you want to at least have a plausible basis for the numbers you provide. And nobody expects them to be precise. But I think what you want to avoid is the guessing game. Oh, do I make it bigger? Do I make it smaller? Make it right. You know, just do your best to figure out, you know, how many customers within a geographic area. What do we think they're likely to buy? What do we think the mix might look like? Maybe look at a couple different possibilities and model it a little bit. But I think that's about the best you can do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So Brian, we should wrap up. Is there some other issue you'd like to tackle for a minute, or have we covered some things?
So I guess a question that I have, because obviously we're in the midst of, at this moment right now, I literally have brought in some additional tech team to solve some early soft launch problems that we found. You know, we've processed about, I think we're at almost $25,000 in transactions that we are in the midst of processing right now. At what point do you, and I guess maybe this is a two-part question. What point do you begin to bring in actuals versus projections, and how, and because this is obviously not something I've yet to experience and something I'm more looking for forward thinking, when in the slide do you generally factor in projections and actuals? Is that a single slide, or do you do that in two separate slides? How would you recommend doing that?
I think it's good if you can show the history and the forecast on the same slide.
Okay.
You know, here's what the history looks like, and it's creeping up a little bit. But once we have some money, we can make it do that. I would put it on the same slide if you can. I mean, all you're talking about probably is revenues and you know, past, present, and future. So I think that helps people understand, give some context.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll make one other quick comment. You talked a little about your people and the experience they have. I would highlight. You don't have a track record CEO on board, I would highlight whatever management experience anybody has, including yourself.
Yeah.
One of the questions is going to be, how do we know this team can manage this process?
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of the answer to that is, well, look, we've already done a lot of what we said we were going to do. We've already got the product. We've taken a lot of the risk out of the equation. But I would highlight whatever management experience people have, kind of pull it all together so investors can see, well, these guys have managed some things before, they know what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled off my slide just to get down to 3 minutes, and then I started saying it naturally at the end, and noticed when it went to the thank you slide that I had hidden it.
I quit going to the 3-minute pitch competitions a long time ago because I got tired of hearing people say, "But I only had 3 minutes."
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Fred. This has been awesome.
It's just not enough.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. I think we gave you some feedback. The thing I would focus on primarily is trying to get a very clear description of the 3-way problem you're solving. Get that right up front. Otherwise, I kind of wonder all the way through, well, wait a minute, what are we really doing here? Who are we solving this problem for? Because that also affects the way you're going to market and promote the product. So that and a couple other things we talked about, I hope that helps a little bit. Listeners, I hope you learned something from the process. Brian has a great idea. He's got just terrific enthusiasm. We know he's going to go make something happen. Be sure and watch the next version of the Pitch Tips Zoomcast. And if you haven't already done so, be sure and subscribe to our channel and follow us as we go. There's also a lot of content being added to the channel through Monday Club presentations, as well as these Pitch Tip Zoomcasts. Brian, thanks so much for spending the time with us, and best of luck with your project.
Thank you very much, Fred. Appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you.